Welcome to tonight's Hometown Magazine. My name is Mike Kelly, and I'm your host tonight. Our primary guest tonight is Joe Matuzak. Joe is probably the man for all seasons in Genesee County art scene. Aside from being a noted poet, he is one of the founders of the Genesee Literary Center, a member of the Flint Council of Arts, one of the rotating editors of Bricks magazine, and recently became the a head administrator. I'm not sure what his title is for.
Executive director.
Executive director of the Buckham Gallery here in Flint. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thanks. I should throw a caveat that I'm not actually on the Flint Council.
Okay. You were on the council?
No, I'm just I just caused them a lot of grief more than anything else.
You were about to say either guest or gadfly. I suspect the latter, yeah. I want to say Joe I'm pleased to have Joe on the show because he has one of those intellects it's fun to run with and play with. I think we're going to have fun tonight. Let's start with Buckham because that's your latest project. Right. Why did a poet want to run an art gallery?
Well, gee, actually, I think I'm there more because I used to run a computer store than because I'm a poet. Okay.
Logically fits together.
Well, it does actually, because artists are very good at doing what we're doing, which is getting together and just running with ideas. That's what they enjoy. That's why they do what they do so well. They're not necessarily as good at actually getting together as a group and having things happen sequentially. Mm-hmm. So sometimes things don't get done.
Sort of a left-wing, right-wing problem here.
Well, sort of like the difference between having creative energy and running a business.
Yes.
And an art gallery on a bottom line is a business on a sense. Whether or not there's a lot of sales involved or anything like that, there are business type things. So that's
you have to pay the light bill or you can't see the artwork.
That's right, pretty much. And that's more how I got in there, is as someone who ran a business. But I did art reviews for the Flint Journal for several years, so and this is a long-standing interest of mine.
Now, one of the sort of secret surprises of Flint that people out of town and even people who live in the area don't know is the number of art galleries in the downtown area. I can think of 8 within about a 2-mile radius of downtown, 3 or 4 of which are literally a few blocks apart downtown. What is the special role that Buckham plays in the Flint art scene?
Well, Buckham's role is, I mentioned the money part. We're not really there to sell paintings or artworks. It's nice if it happens, of course, and I encourage everyone to come in and buy 1 million of them. Okay, but Buckham's directive and role is to be sort of a cutting edge, to bring things in that wouldn't ordinarily be seen here, to try to challenge the way people look at things, to change their perceptions. So Buckham is more of an avant-garde gallery, and one of the underlying principles is that we'll try to keep things exciting, try to keep things dangerous, try to keep things changing, and we'll bring in people from outside of town to try to pollinate the arts area here with new ideas and a sense of what's going on.
One of the things that really strikes me about Buckham, aside from the content of the work that's there, is how good the space is. With the possible exception of the Bray Gallery at the Flint Institute of Arts, I think the Buckham display area is the best in the city.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful architecture, a beautiful space. We get this all the time from artists who are coming in from out of town. They say, I can't believe a place like this is here, because it's very malleable. It's huge. It's like a mini airport hangar with movable walls, so that we can change it according to what the artist wants to do.
Now, how does the Buckham Gallery fit into the broader art activity in terms of the people involved? It's very interesting that you've been involved in many different aspects of the art scene, and even those of us who are involved more on the periphery become aware of seeing a lot of the faces again and again in different roles, doing different things. Buckham and the Buckham Theater, which is not exactly the same, but related, it's in that same area, and I think a lot of the same people are involved.
They stop at the same bar, which is in between the
two. Do you find that this plays a role in unifying the community?
Well, Buckham is not strictly a gallery. It also does put on, have poetry readings. We bring in dance troupes. We've done some theater there as well. So it's aimed at a multidisciplinary kind of thing. I think artists in general like to congregate, okay, because they find people who think in the same ways and run with ideas and see what happens. Flint is essentially a small town, so there's not, you know, it's not like New York where you're going to be hanging around and there's artists who have been here of major caliber and you've never seen or met them. Pretty much everyone around here can come in contact with everyone else if they really want to, if they want to seek that out. And I think that Buckham has been, because of what it stands for, because it stands for the new, for the exciting, for the avant-garde, it's been a place that artists naturally congregate to.
When you took up the job of being an executive director of the gallery, what's the first thing you did?
First thing I did is tried to catch up on the correspondence which had been sitting there waiting for somebody to get to, and then reorganized the files. When I went in, I said, you know, basically, look, you guys know how to get great art here. Okay, you know how to do this stuff. You don't need, that's not what I'm going to be here for. I'm going to be here to take some of the administrative pressure off of you, say, so that you guys can create your art, so that you can think about that stuff, so you don't have to worry about whether, you know, the mailing list is updated or all the press releases are out or all the really mundane kinds of things that have to be done to let people know, you know, that you exist and that there's something interesting and exciting here. Artists get bogged down in that stuff and they shouldn't have to waste their time with it.
How does that role impact your other role as a writer?
Well, it uses it somewhat, but it really doesn't have a lot to do with it in other ways. You know, I wish I got to just sit in the gallery more and write to some of the marvelous art. But it's like how does teaching affect someone who is an artist? How does being a bricklayer affect? We all have our real life jobs, and mine just happens to be a little more closely related now to my passions as well. You know, so I've always written to art. You know, and some of the skills that I have in communication are valuable here, but I'm not sure, as you know, there's not a lot of room for poetry when you're updating a mailing list.
What are you going to do differently? Mostly
it is going to be organization and a matter of letting people know that it exists. I think that Buckham started out with a very high profile, and sort of it's not as prevalent in people's minds as it used to be, even though it's still doing exciting work. And Buckham is in a transition phase as well. It's very difficult to stay on the cutting edge for a long time. I mean, how do you do that? How do you say, okay, we're going to be exciting for a long time. We're going to be an institution that's exciting. You have to really make a commitment to that, and you have to say over and over, are we doing this? Aren't we doing this? So a lot of what I'm going to be doing there is begging the question, saying, excuse me, are we fulfilling our mission? Let's look at what we're up to here. I hope to, you know, outside of the administrative things, just make people more aware of this as a normal kind of thing and what this has to offer to their lives. I mean, art at its best makes you think about things, makes you change your way or challenge your normal way of thinking. And avant-garde art pushes that the hardest.
Looking back over the last few years at Buckham as somebody who was not responsible for the gallery, but was, you know, there, can you recall particular things that you saw that did that?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that's marvelous about that space is that you can change it. So there have been shows where artists will come in and they will literally create environments. You walk into a weird visqueened world where you walk around and you can participate in that. A lot of very visual kinds of things. That's one of the exciting things about Buckham is every show is different from the last. With most galleries you get a sense of continuity where you're going to come in and this show flows naturally out of the last. With Buckham, it's almost like you go in and you don't know what you're liable to see, and that's very exciting. And it's exciting to set up show by show and see, my gosh, what is this person doing? You know, as opposed to this person, and because that really makes you look at things differently. And that's valuable for anyone, I think.
What do you have in the works? What are we going to see in the next couple of months?
Well, the forthcoming show has 4 women artists. Maggie Citron out of Ann Arbor, who does some wonderful screen paintings where they're like physical screens, almost like because she wants her paintings to move and change a little bit.
Oh, okay. Multi-layered sort of thing.
Well, no, almost like hinged screens, but her idea is to make it 3-dimensional so that it changes the way it looks. Helena Sadowski out of Detroit makes these really bizarrely wonderful wood sculptures that stand. Some are very large and some are small. That they're just, I don't know, they're almost religious the way you look at them, even though they don't have any obvious religious icon.
Sort of goes back to the early days of the totem and the.
That's right. It's a very primal looking stuff. Ann Heyer and Chris Waters are both Buckham member artists. Chris is on the faculty at the University of Michigan Flint, and she works in watercolor and in oil. Does a lot of landscape kinds of things as well. Her stuff is just wonderful, and she has a really sort of sardonic wit underneath it. And Ann Heyer, I don't know what she's going to do. She's been nice and secretive. I'm looking forward to seeing them. She doesn't want to tell me. She wants to, which is, again, that's one of the exciting things. Is for me, they come in, here they are. It's wow, this is strange. How do we put this together? How do we make a show out of it?
You mentioned membership. Is there a way that somebody who is a working artist or simply someone who appreciates this can support Buckham through a membership?
There's a number of different levels. Artists, Buckham is essentially an artist-run cooperative. We can have 30 working artists who contribute time more than money. You know, you have to serve on the committees, you have to come in and do all of these things. There are a few openings available for that, but they're fairly stringent about that. There are also, anyone can become an associate member. It's, you know, a very minimal cost. You get all of the information from the gallery, you know, the opportunity to participate in various events. We welcome, you know, any artist or anyone who's interested to come up and become part of the community, definitely.
Okay. Well, we're going to be back in just a minute and talk to Joe some more about Buckham and also about the Bricks magazine that's coming up. But we're going to take just a minute for an announcement, and I hope you'll be staying with us. We'll be back with a little more Hometown Magazine in just one moment.
We're going to travel to Davisburg to interview Larry McCarthy. That's coming up next on Hometown Magazine. Stay tuned.